This is SEAL Talks, episode 18. Hello, Star Architects. Welcome to the SEAL Talks podcast, the podcast dedicated to helping architects build businesses that are profitable and sustainable. Or simply put, the podcast where you learn all the things they don't teach us in architecture school. I am your host, Egbeiyon Leonard, and today I'm going to be talking about something every architect, from the fresh graduate to the 50-year veteran in the industry, has heard before. The famous lines, "Do this job for us. Many jobs are coming. We'll give you exposure." Exposure. Exposure that doesn't pay rent. Exposure that doesn't buy diesel. Exposure that doesn't even buy computer or even pay for software. And they will say it with so much confidence as if they are offering you a scholarship to heaven. Today, I am going to unpack why exposure is not payment and how to stop letting people disguise exploitation to us as opportunity. First, let's look at the myth of exposure. Let's start with the truth. Every architect in Nigeria has been offered exposure as a form of payment. Sometimes it comes as opportunity, sometimes it comes as networking, and at other times, it simply comes as emotional blackmail. Or they use that one phrase, "We just want to see your concept. Don't worry, if we like it, we'll bring you in for the main job." Translation, give us free concepts so we can use them to pitch for investors. And you know the painful part? We always agree because we tell ourselves, it's good exposure now. But guys, you cannot pay rent with recognition. You can't fuel your car with followers, and no client will ever go to the bank to deposit visibility in your account. Exposure in most cases is not opportunity. It is exploitation disguised in big grammar. A young guy in my private mentorship class once mentioned a situation he found himself. He was talking about how he designed a full duplex for free because the client simply said, "I have a senator I will show this work to." And you know the bad part? When the senator saw it, he simply said, "This is nice." End of story. My guy was pained. That nice design, it did not translate into thank you or payment or even an appreciation text. And that is how we end up being respected in public, but we are broke in private. So why do we keep falling for this scheme? Let's break it down. Let's be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we are the problem too. We fall for the bait because we want to be seen. We want to blow. We think visibility equals, success. But visibility without structure in itself is actually vanity if you look at it. You design 10 projects, you post them on Instagram, you get likes, you get comments, or sometimes even comments like, "God, when?" But no client calls back. Why? Because your visibility was never built on value. We must learn the difference between being known and being respected. Exposure can make you known. Only value in itself makes you respected and gets you paid. So let's even bring it to the Nigerian context. How many architects have designed estates for developers on goodwill, only to be ghosted after the approvals came out? How many have done free proposals for government agencies just to see, let's see what we can do together, only for those same agencies to build it without them? Exposure didn't give them a seat at the table. It simply gave away free concepts. So let's understand the true cost of free. See, when you take an unpaid work, it's actually never free. You are paying. You're either paying with your time, with your energy, or even with your confidence. You think you are gaining visibility, but the truth is you're actually losing momentum. And that in itself is opportunity cost. The time you could have spent on paying jobs, or even building your own brand, or even developing your own portfolio. Thing is, it is not just for the younger guys. I had a senior architect I speak to once in a while. He mentioned this same story to me, and he said earlier in his career, he did a free design for a friend. And why? because he wanted to help the friend save money. That same friend later sold that same building for over 200 million naira. And I asked him, did he at least say thank you to you? The man looked at me and said, not even Merry Christmas. When he said it, I understood it, because when you work for free, you are simply financing someone else's success. And the worst part, they will never stop. The more you do it for free, the more they expect it for free from you. When you underprice once, you teach them your discount rate. When you work for free, you teach them what your worth is. So let me digress a bit. Exposure actually works sometimes, and I will explain which exposure works. So not all exposure is bad, to be honest and fair. There is good exposure and there is fake exposure. Good exposure is when it aligns with your brand. It is measurable, very important, measurable. When it comes, it opens real doors. Like being featured in a publication, you are speaking on a panel, or you are collaborating with a credible brand that credits you publicly. And what bad exposure looks like is the one we keep falling for. The bad exposure is the one we keep falling for. When they say things like, we'll tag you, but they actually never do. If you can't measure the exposure, it is not valuable. So before you accept any opportunity, ask yourself these 3 questions by yourself. What is in it for me? Tangibly. What is the timeline, and how does it build my future value? If you cannot answer these questions clearly, my brother, you simply just politely walk away, because real exposure doesn't beg, it benefits. So how do we stop trading value for visibility? Well, let me get practical. How do we stop this cycle? Some of the things I'm talking about here is what we at Seal Design and even Render Like People have done in the past. What conversations I've had with people that has helped shape how we currently practice, to help us to understand that this thing is not just one person. It's an industry plague that is, ravaging everywhere. And it's not just Nigeria or Africa alone. It's all over the world. One of the things that we've done that has worked is that we defined our minimum standard. So you need to decide what you will do or you won't do for free. Maybe you're okay with a 30-minute conversation, but you will not go ahead to develop concept for a client for free. When a client says, just sketch something small, you can simply say, my consultation for this particular sketch will be so and so amount. Simple, calm, and professional. That statement, right? It instantly shifts the conversation from help me to hire me. As simple as that. And the second thing is, always put it in writing. Guys, I cannot emphasize this particular one enough, even for friends and family. You don't even need a 20-page contract to get it done. A 1-page letter of engagement will do simply. It spells out the scope, deliverable fees, and timeline. And if a client resists paperwork, that is the first red flag you can imagine. Remember this. Good clients love structure. Only exploiters hate paper trail because they know you can sue them with it. And the third thing we do is we control our own visibility. You don't need exposure from clients. I'm saying this, don't get me wrong. Clients can give you exposure, get you referrals and all, but only clients who have your interest at heart, who sees the value you deliver. You need your own consistency from yourself. Start sharing your process, your ideas, your journey. You educate your audience. You show your work online, even behind the scenes sometimes. That way, you build visibility you can control, not the one someone promises you. Another one is that we use humor to protect our boundaries most times. And I'll give you an example. When a client says, architect, just do this one for me, God will bless you, for example. As little as that, you know that this is putting you in a tight corner. Sometimes we simply just say, God has already blessed us, so He has blessed us with skill. The only thing remaining is for us to discuss, how much payments will be. As simple as it is firm and it is kind. Respect does not have to be aggressive. It just has to be consistent. So we need to work on shifting your mindset. Let's look at it this way. Exposure is never the real reward, right? The impact of your work is. And impact begins when you start valuing what you yourself bring to the table. You are not just drawing lines. You are organizing chaos into beauty. You are even turning empty land into meaning for your clients. So when a client says, "You're too expensive," you just simply need to remember that they are not comparing you to other architects. They are comparing you to free. Never ever, I say it again, never compete with free. Because when you compete with free, you will always lose. You need to compete with clarity, with quality, and with confidence. Because in the end, the client who paid cheap or even free will always come back to get you to do correction twice for free again. So, let's close this out, guys. If you take something away from this episode today, let it be this. People treat you the way you let them treat you. If you keep accepting exposure as payment, they will keep offering it to you. But when you start standing on value, the world itself will start paying attention and paying you money for it. So the next time someone says, "Let's do it for exposure, there are many more jobs coming," you simply just need to smile and tell them, exposure doesn't build architecture, payment does. You have been listening to the Seal Talk podcast with me, Egbeiyon Leonard. If this episode hits home, share it with a fellow architect who needs to hear it again and to be reminded that architects build the world. The least the world can do for us is to pay us for it. See you on the next episode, guys.